The night Blake Lively's Instagram turned into a wall of explicit spam, it didn't look like a tech glitch. It looked like a warning. Her handle, followed by tens of millions of people, was suddenly tagged in post after post while she was already fighting a high-stakes court battle. Her lawyers were in motion, headlines were exploding, and strangers were deciding if she was a villain or a survivor before a single judge could rule. And to understand how a Hollywood love story turned into a lesson in social media lawfare, we have to rewind to the image Blake tried to protect most, her life online. Long before this legal war, Blake Lively was already fighting a quieter battle with the internet. She wasn't going after critics or bad reviews, she was going after the cameras aimed at her kids. When paparazzi followed her family and sites posted pictures of her daughters, she publicly called it disturbing and frightening. Instead of shrugging, she flooded her feed with her own photos and praised outlets that refused to post non-consensual shots of children. She learned early that the only real shield against digital noise is telling your own story before someone else does. But that early lesson was just a warm-up for what would happen once lawyers, studios, and social media mobs all entered the same storyline. That bigger story began on the set of the film adaptation of It Ends With Us. On paper, it was a dream project, combining a massive book fandom, a major studio, and two bankable stars. Off paper, Blake says the environment around director and co-star Justin Baldoni and his team turned toxic. She filed complaints accusing them of harassment, retaliation, and abusing their power on set. They denied it, saying she was twisting ordinary conflicts into something extreme. Once the allegations surfaced, the internet did what it always does. It picked sides in real time. Fans dissected text messages, creators broke down filings, and every new motion became more content. And just when it looked like a messy but familiar Hollywood standoff, the legal strategy took a sharp turn that showed how lawsuits themselves can be used as weapons. Instead of only defending himself, Baldoni went on the attack. He sued a major newspaper for hundreds of millions over an article that echoed Blake's claims, saying the messages used against him were taken out of context and turned into a hit piece. The same day, he filed a giant case against Blake and her husband Ryan Reynolds, accusing them of trying to wreck his career and seize control of the movie. Blake, in response, expanded her own lawsuit and added a social media strategist she said helped run a digital campaign against her. The dollar amounts were huge, but the point wasn't just money. This is what crisis experts now call lawfare, using the legal system itself as a communication tool, a way to fight in the court of public opinion under the cover of court filings. And to see how powerful that tactic is in a world built on feeds and algorithms, you have to look at what happened to Blake's online life once the court papers started flying.
In early 2025, her complaint describes her Instagram being flooded with explicit spam and troll posts tagging her account right as the conflict with Baldoni was boiling over. Entertainment sites ran headlines about a coordinated troll campaign, and the platform had to respond publicly. At the same time, both sides say they were hit with threatening messages, bad faith comments, and waves of strangers sure they knew the truth from a few screenshots. Blake's lawyers pushed for stronger protective orders, arguing that sensitive information was leaking into the online arena and turning into fuel for harassment. Baldoni's camp called her requests overreaching and a fishing expedition. Somewhere between those dueling statements, real people were doom-scrolling, liking, sharing, and stitching the story into content of their own. And that's where this stops being a simple celebrity dust-up and becomes a case study in how social media can quietly tilt the scales of justice. For decades, celebrity scandals followed a familiar script. A story leaked to a tabloid, a lawyer issued a short statement, maybe there was a quiet settlement, and eventually the public moved on. Now, the filings themselves are entertainment. Fans upload complaints, creators highlight the spiciest paragraphs, and armchair lawyers record breakdowns of every hearing. Defamation suits, workplace claims, and orders for protection are no longer dusty background documents. They are the main plot. Commentators talk about the fusion of cancel culture and litigation, where the courtroom and the timeline feed off each other. When a star sues, it isn't only about winning damages years later. It is about framing the narrative today. And the lively Baldoni clash is part of a larger pattern, where high-profile lawsuits are used to send a message to the opponent and to anyone else watching from the sidelines. That message travels fast because the evidence we once thought of as online drama now walks straight into court. Posts, DMs, and comments can be screenshotted, preserved, and dropped into legal arguments. Lawyers in big cases don't just prepare witnesses, they track social media timelines. Knowing a single viral clip can shape opinion more than a week of testimony. Influencers comment on filings they barely skim, yet their videos pull millions of views. Ordinary fans become unpaid PR teams, stitching together clips, emails, and screenshots into simple stories of hero and villain. In this environment, a lawsuit can feel like a megaphone, a way to shout, "I'm the one telling the truth," long before anything is proven under oath. And if that sounds like something that only matters to A-list actors, it is worth noticing how the same forces are creeping into everyone's feed.
Because what happens to celebrities today often becomes the template for how regular people handle conflict tomorrow. Influencers are already being pulled into court over product promos, wild claims, and false accusations blasted to huge audiences. Small business owners have faced legal threats after posting harsh reviews online, too. In some places, new rules try to protect critics from being buried in lawsuits meant mainly to scare them into silence. In others, we see louder, more aggressive cases used to send a chill through anyone thinking of speaking up. The Blake Lively saga shows both sides of that coin, a star saying she turned to the law to push back against a hostile environment and a smear campaign, and an opponent saying those same accusations are a reputational attack. Whoever you believe, the modern fight is no longer just about what really happened. It is also about who can afford the better narrative machine. Meanwhile, the clock in the background ticks at two very different speeds. Courts move slowly. Social media moves instantly. A civil trial can take years to reach a verdict, but a trending hashtag can damage a career in a weekend. So both sides try to bridge that gap with lawfare, filing massive claims, releasing selective evidence, and shaping coverage so that by the time a judge finally rules, the audience has already decided how the story ends. The platforms sit in the middle, pushed to remove harmful content while being accused of censorship when they do. Lawmakers watch cases like this one as they debate how far speech should go, how to handle online mobs, and when digital behavior crosses the line into real-world harm. And that is why one messy, personal fight around a single film keeps showing up in serious conversations about defamation, workplace rights, and digital privacy. So we end where we began, with a famous actor opening her phone and seeing her name buried under a wave of posts she never asked for. On the other side, millions of tiny verdicts are delivered every day in comments, stitches, and quiet choices about whose work to stream and whose projects to skip. Blake Lively's legal fight may eventually be decided by a judge and a jury, but the larger struggle over how we use courts and social media to fight our battles is only getting started. The next time a celebrity trend flashes across your screen, you won't just be watching gossip. You'll be watching a new kind of conflict, where the law, the algorithm, and public opinion all share the same stage.